So again, the negative in front of the parentheses actually means negative 1. You draw your arrows to distribute. What is negative 1 times 1? Negative 1. Again, pick up the calculators if you need them. And I understand I might go a little more quickly, but I don't want you to have a ton of homework. And then what is negative 1 times negative 5?
5.
Positive 5. So positive 5n. Now you can't do anything with this yet, so you just put minus 7n. Now after we've distributed, we can combine like terms. There's no other constant. This is all by itself. But we do have a positive 5n and a negative 7n. So those are the two that we can put together. Typically, yes. Typically, you put the variable term first and then the constant at the end. So Christian just said this is a negative 2n, and then that was a minus 1. Now, if you put this, same thing. But you're going to learn, especially in the worksheet for today, in math, there's a certain order that things go in. Typically, they go in alphabetical order. So if there's an x term, that will go first, then the y term, and then if there is a constant, which is just the number, that goes at the very end. And if there's an x squared, it'll go before something that's an x. This is just the order of math, and this isn't like this year. This is for the rest of your mathematical careers and years. So this is the more accepted answer. What is positive 5 minus 7? Put it in the calculator. You'll get negative 2, and then you just stick the n after it.
Oh, okay. I don't have to.
Okay? Now, the next one. Remember the order of operations. After we, please excuse, what do? Multiply or divide. That means you cannot add 8 plus 7 yet. You cannot put these together because this 7 next to the parentheses means multiplication. So you have to distribute. Circle what we're distributing. It's a positive 7 we're distributing. You can't do anything with the 8 yet, so we're just going to rewrite 8. What is 7 times 7?
49.
So we're going to put, 49n. And then 7 times negative 4
28.
is minus positive times a negative. Again, just take this line in front of it and think of it as that. So a positive times a negative is a negative 28. Now we're done distributing, so we can combine our like terms. We have a positive 8 that can pair with a negative 28, and then the positive 49n is just all by itself. So now we can combine like terms. This is the only n term in your calculators. 8 minus 28. Tell me what it is.
Negative 20.
Negative 20. So you're just going to put minus 20. That is your answer. Okay. Number 3. Not that you would try to subtract these two, because you can't. One's an n, one doesn't have an n. But what I want you to do is circle what you are distributing. You're distributing a negative 5. They're like glue. They go together. They're stuck. They are stuck together. Now we distribute the negative 5 to each of these. We have to be really careful because all of these have a negative sign in front of them. They're all negative. So, can we do anything with the negative n? Nope. So we just rewrite negative n. Please, if you don't know, use your calculators. Negative 5 times negative 6.
35 negative.
No, not. You're on the next one.
30.
Oh,
30. It's 30.
Positive 30.
Plus 30. Now negative 5 times negative 7. That's positive 35. And you just put the n there. Once you do the multiplication or whatever, you just stick the variable on the end. We talked about it earlier. What is this really? How many negative n's are really here? Just one. So if it helps you, draw the 1 in. Now let's look for our like terms. What are our like terms here, class? Negative n
And 35.
and positive 35n. And then this 30 is all by itself. So how am I going to know what my n term is? What do I put in the calculator?
Negative
Uh-huh.
plus 35.
There you go. So tell me what it is.
Negative 34.
Negative 4.
34. Oh, I was right.
It's positive. Because negative 1 and 35. It's like I have $35. I only spent $1. You still have 34. So, and then put the n, and then we just put plus 30. And that's your answer. You cannot put these two together. Do you see how the 30 doesn't have an n?
Uh-huh.
Therefore, they are not like terms. They cannot go together. Okay? They cannot be put together. And we're back to this again. What is really in front of this parenthesis? Negative 1. There's a 1. Now we can distribute negative 1 times 4, negative 1 times 6. We can't do anything with the minus 3 yet. So negative 1 times a positive 4 is negative 4. Again, you're distributing that, the negative 1. And what is negative 1 times positive 6x? Negative 1 times 6, class. Thank you. Negative 6 and put the x. Now just recopy minus 3. All right, so we have a constant of negative 4, so I'm going to circle it. That is not a constant. That's an x. And then we have negative 3.
7. Negative.
This is all by itself. So we're just going to rewrite negative 6x. And then, if you need them, negative 4 minus 3.
7. Negative.
Negative 7. So minus 7. That's your answer. You're done. I mean, some of them might be a little longer, too. But this is it. We are going to skip number 5 and save that one for tomorrow. I want you to try number 6 on your own. Good ones to look back on for number 6 are numbers 2, because of the 2 numbers in front of the parenthesis, and then even maybe number 3 because of all the negatives. So number 6. Work on number 6. Try this one. And then I will do it with you. But in the meantime, I'm going to pass out your work for today. And then we will do even some of those together. Again, look at numbers, I think I said 2. 2 is very similar. 2 and 3 because of the negatives. I think most of you got calculators if you need one. It might be. Well, just pay attention and take notes. In order to explain it. We'll work some more out. It's just practice. You just have to take your time. And don't put your notes away. When we go to start this, your notes should be out on your desk. That's the perfect note.
Done. You're awesome.
It's still recording. Your mouth. I want to hit you. Sorry, I probably interrupted your good stretch there too.
We all need that one stretch.
All right. So what do we do first? Aaron, what do we do first? Here, let Javier help you out first. Javier, what did you say? Yeah, you leave the 7. You just recopied the 7. That is excellent. You need to know that. You just leave the 7. And now what is next? We got to deal with the next thing. So what do we do? Angeles, what do we do? You know?
You will deliver 8 to 2 to negative 2. Well, it's negative 8.
Thank you.
And to negative 2 and to 5. And the answer would be positive 16 minus.
Now you're right. It is plus 16 because negative 2 times negative 8. See how I circled what's in front of the parentheses?
Yeah, ma'am.
Negative times a negative, it's a positive. And look, you're going to have another negative times a negative. A negative 8 times negative 5.
That would be positive 40.
Positive 40 what? X.
Would that be? And then,
Javier, you got this.
and
Proud
then
of you.
Will keep, and then you will keep the 16. Positive 16. You will keep the positive 16.
What does the 7 have to pair up with?
40
Class? No, does this have an X? It has to pair up with the 16. Plain old numbers. That has an X. It's like at Thanksgiving when you're like, oh yay, I'm 12 and 13 now, and you're with your big family at Thanksgiving, and you're like, I'm going to go sit at the adult table, and they were like, kids table. Head over to the kids table. We got Aunt Sue and Uncle Nick to talk about. Get over there.
Sally.
Those are my parents' names. So it's like, you're set. They have to keep this over here and this with this group. So it's almost like the kids' table at Thanksgiving and then the adults' table at Thanksgiving. Like the constants, the plain old numbers are only allowed to be together, and only that 40 could be with something that has a what?
X.
An X. Is there something else with an X?
No.
No.
Oh, okay, now
Okay.
I thought you had to keep the better.
It's kind of even like at lunch. You have your own tables. So like Mr. Preston's students have to sit with Mr. Preston's students. And Miss Lee's students have to sit over here. And the English, they all, even though they're, they're all the English department, but even Miss Bird's table is separate from Miss McAlpine's and things like that. My kids don't sit with Miss Smart's kids. So everything has to be grouped with their own group. So since nothing else has an X, it can't go with anything else. Okay? So what is, let's put 40X first. And now what's 7 plus 16?
21. Wait.
Thank you. I mean, you were set on that. And then pause. And you just sat there. So that's all you can do with that. All right? So we will do 5 and then 7 through 10 as a reminder. We're going to pick up with those notes tomorrow. Let's look at your work for today.
It'll work.
Here's the thing. There's actually no distributive property in this today. Tomorrow there is. No. And so now we're just going back to super basics of combining like terms. Pick your head up. Yes. Did you pass them back? No. Pass them back.
As we go along, you have to put like the answer here. You're about to explain.
Yes, I never just hand out stuff and don't explain it. All right. So it says simplify each expression below. And then what do we do? What's the next part of the rules, Christina? Christina, what's the next sentence? Okay, so when you finish, the answer to the title question will remain. So when we find our answer at the bottom, and this is what I was telling you about. Look at how they're arranged. The X comes first, if there is one. Then there's a Y if there is one. Then the constant. So X, Y, constant if there are all three of them. So let's just look at the simple ones. There's nothing here but things with an X, right? So they can just go together. What is, in your calculators, if you need them, negative 3 plus 9?
6.
So what do? You just write 6? Yes, it's, 9 minus 3. I knew what you meant. So, I'll wait. So now we find 6x at the bottom of the page, which is right here, and you color it in. You can cross it out, but I just figured color it in so you don't see it.
So the answer is what we're crossing out.
The answer is what is left, the letters that are left.
No, I mean like the answer.
Oh, yes. I see what you're saying. And then the final answer at the end is... All right, so let's skip the next one. Remember, negative 6 plus x. How many x's are really there in the x. How many x? 1. So what is negative 6 plus 1?
Negative 5.
Correct. So negative 5x. So now you find, and it's right down here, it's letter
Where is it?
D, negative 5x.
Wait. Let's see.
I don't understand how this goes.
Now let's look at something like let's look at number 7, because number 6 is very similar. What happens when you have minus and negative? What does it turn into, class?
1.
Wait, minus a negative?
Yes. What happens when you have minus and negative?
Does it turn into a positive?
Thank you. Somebody listen to Christian. What happens when you subtract a negative? It turns into a positive.
Positive.
Thank you.
I have a question. I can do 4.
In a minute. So, no, it is kind of blurry. It's a little foggy. So this is really negative 1x. This is what I was talking about. Minus a negative turns into a positive 10x. Now you're ready to combine like terms. So negative 1 plus 10. 9x. So you find you're on a roll. So 9x is actually next to the negative 5x.
Christian smart. I drank some smart water this morning. One of them.
Maybe you can just finally see the board.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right. So let's take a look at number 11. Number 11. Do you see how we have a double negative again? Let's rewrite it and get rid of the double negative. 6x, what would this be? Plus 3x. What would I write next?
Plus X.
Or how many x's?
1.
1x and then minus 6. Now we're just going to see how many x's we have there. We can put all those together.
That's 3x.
Yes, there's a 6x, and they're all positive, so that's good. And then that's all by itself.
10x minus 6.
They're in the, oh, yours is right there. Can you? So let's find that. 10x minus 6 is right here.
8.
Correct. And I'll keep doing a few with you until you feel a little better. Maybe 2 more. Let's go to the last column. Let's go to the last column.
Last column is just.
Sure, we can do 21 together. Shh. Once you quiet down. Alright, here's the next term. I'm going to circle. The biggest thing is take the sign in front of it. That's a y term. Here's an x term. It's a negative what x? How many are really here? 1. That's not an x. That's not an x. Now I'm going to look for my y terms. I have a negative 5y and another just negative 1y. And then this 9's all by itself. So let's put our x's together. This is what I mean. Get your calculators. 8, well, I really hope you don't need it for that. 8 minus 1.
9. Alright, 7.
7x.
I said plus.
Now, look at your y terms. Negative 5 minus 1. Let's try that. Negative 5 minus 1. Negative 6. So you just put minus 6y, and then what's left?
9.
Plus 9.
Positive 9.
Yes. Which is 7x. Oh, it's right at the front. 7x minus, yep, it's the very first one. Yep, very first one.
Are these like random letters? Or are they supposed to spell something or something?
No, they'll spell something to answer. How does a Hawaiian baritone laugh? All right, I'll do one more in the last column. Maylin, you pick which one. Let her pick. 18. Let's do 18. All right, Maylin. here is negative 9x. So I'm going to circle it. You circle it too. Negative 9x. What else up here has an x in it? Do you see how that's a y? They can't go together. 1, nope, can't pair up with an x. 5y, no. 5x. Do you see how that's an x and that's an x?
Yes.
They're a match. They can go together. It's like a game.
It's like
It's like go fish. Do you have a 7? Yeah, I have a 7. They can go together. If you're like, hey, can I have a 7 and they hand you a 4? That's not go fish. You can't put those two together.
Brandon lost it.
Alright? Quiet. Now, we have our y terms. Do you see how this is like a y? Okay. So we're going to put a box around it. It's a negative. There's no coefficient that you can see, so we know that there's really just one of them. That way you don't forget to account for it. Does that have a y? No. Does that have a y?
Yes.
Yes. So put a box around it because we're matching them up. And that doesn't have a y.
And then we have a negative.
And then let's go back. We have a 1, a positive 1. And you see how that's a 10? There's no letters with it? Well, that's a match tree there. You can put those together. Those are called constants. The reason why they're called a constant, like in science, someone told me earlier, you learned about that? It's
Yeah,
they don't
constants
change.
always stay the same.
Right. There's no variable attached. Something varies, it doesn't stay the same. The exact opposite.
Makes more sense.
Okay? With a variable, we don't know what the number is because the x could be 2, the x could be 10. We don't know. So that term can change. There's no variable here, so it cannot change. It's a constant. Now, we put our circles with our circles and our boxes with the box and the lines with the lines. So, you kind of now just look for your shapes, the circles. Negative 9 plus 5, because they're the x's. So in your calculator, negative 9 plus 5.
You get negative 4.
So right, what we're going to write now is negative 4 and then put the x back on it. Now let's go to our boxes. We have negative 1 plus 5. So negative 1 plus 5. So we're going to put plus 4, y.
Plus 4y. So 4x plus 4y.
And now we have a positive 1. Now we're going to go with our line. Our positive 1 can pair up with our negative 10. So what is 1 minus 10?
9.
So we're just going to put minus 9. That's your answer.
Yes, it'll fit.
And that will be at the bottom of the page somewhere.
G.
Thank you. Oh, it's way at the end. Okay.
The very last thing.
We did the first one and the last one.
Awesome.
Oh, I want to use green. Okay, so you will continue individually working on these, and you have 2
Minutes, hours.
adults in the room to walk around and help you.